Hello and welcome to the Quincy Access Television Studios. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining us for Good Deeds, a program that looks at your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. And of course, here performing the duty of guide is the Register of Deeds for Norfolk County. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Mark, thank you for having me, and again, thanks to Quincy Access Television for doing this. And as far as a guide, I know we come here to talk and guide through some of the numbers, and there was an uptick, believe it or not, in residential and commercial sales and sale prices, despite overall numbers sort of trending downwards. So when you look again, we brought statistics for the last quarter, which is April, May, and June, and when we compared 2021 to 2022, the average sale price actually went up 30%, almost over 296,000. And total commercial volume and total commercial residential volume, when you combine it together, it was an increase in 16%. So that was a good thing. However, you see a lot of things that are trending downward. For instance, total documents recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds in 2021, it was 52,088, again for that 3-month period. But in April, May, and June of 2022, it was 35,744. That's over a 16,000 document decrease, or 31%. So I think what we're seeing is that market conditions are having an effect on document volume. One of the components of document volume is deeds. You know, when houses get sold, deeds get recorded at the registry. And total deeds recorded, that went down 11%. It went down from 3,523 in 2021 to 3,146. And that's telling me that, you know, it's not only market conditions, but interest rates are going up, and it's starting to have an impact on our numbers. It's having an impact on how many deeds get recorded, because the deed volume, which is again reflects purchase and sales, people buying and selling houses, that deed volume is in 2022 is not what it was in 2020 and 2021. And another component of that is mortgages. There's been a decrease in the number of recorded mortgages, and I think people kind of understand that the interest rates have been creeping up, and that borrowers are less inclined to not only borrow money, they're not signing mortgages, but also the volume of what is being borrowed is down, and the numbers show that. The total mortgages, and again, that's one of the documents that goes into the total volume of recordings, in 2021 was 12,041, and in 2022, again, April, May, and June, 6,809. That's a 5,232 document drop just in mortgages, or 43%. And even the borrowings went down. That was, people are borrowing less. That's down 23%. So even though, again, there was an uptick in sales and an uptick in sale prices, I think some of that is reflecting, again, the lack of new construction, the lack of inventory, and when you don't have an inventory to sell, there are going to be demands. There are demands to live in great communities here in Norfolk County, in surrounding communities outside the county, but there's 28 great communities in Norfolk County. So it's somewhat troubling to see what's going on, because things seem to be trending a little bit down. When you start analyzing the numbers, we'll see what the future holds.
I know that the ugly word recession has been thrown around recently. Possibly people are in fear of getting into a recession.
Yeah, that's certainly a fear. A lot of economists, there's some people that are saying there won't be. There's some people that are saying there are. Clearly, the interest rates going up, that was going to have an effect on the real estate economy, and you could see it in the numbers. People, just aren't going to borrow when the interest rates are so high. And again, in fairness, other people may have borrowed when the rates were lower. But to me, one of the issues, it's always been an issue at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. We were very proud to partner up with nonprofit groups when it comes to foreclosures. So when you talk about an ugly word like recession, one of the numbers that I see jumping out at me is the notices to foreclose. So we've had an increase in foreclosure activity in Norfolk County. The notices to foreclose, which is the beginning, and it doesn't mean the people are going to get foreclosed on, but it's the beginning of a process. Some lender took the time to file a lawsuit, and by law they have to file this notice of foreclosure at the Registry of Deeds. Well, in 2021 there was 33 for that 3-month period. In 2022 there was 66. That's a real significant increase, and it just shows there are people struggling. Even if one person was struggling, you'd say it's too much. I always say that, and I mean it. I mean, when we don't walk in those shoes, it's hard to be empathetic, but you have to be empathetic when the biggest asset most of us have are our homes, and someone potentially is going to lose that home. And that's why in Norfolk County, if you find yourself in that situation, facing a foreclosure or getting a notice to foreclose, or even beforehand, because before you get the notice to foreclose, you may be having trouble paying your obligation to the lender. The Norfolk Registry of Deeds has partnered up with nonprofit groups and with the Attorney General's office, Maura Healey's office. So go to our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, and seek the help before it gets worse. You've got to get some help right away. You've got to get some counseling. And the two nonprofit groups, it's Quincy Community Action Program. And again, just because it has the word Quincy in it, they've committed to help everybody countywide, the 28 communities in Norfolk County, as has a Neighbor Works Housing Solutions, another nonprofit group. And what's good is they have counseling services, not just to how to deal with debt and maybe look at what you're doing budget-wise and spending-wise, but they also have advice and counsel if you're facing foreclosure. And of course, also on our website is a link to the Maura Healey's office, the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. They too have resources and help that someone struggling with foreclosure can get.
You're talking about, and you talked about the prices of homes being high. Well, the prices of real estate being high in general, both commercial and residential. So often with that, and a lender possibly saying you can afford more than you can, would lead to foreclosure.
It happens that way. Again, there's more laws in place since the last recession. There was a lot of foreclosures in '07, and even going back, and they looked at, well, wait a minute, a lot of people borrowed money in '03 and '04, and then suddenly it kind of all hit in '07. So the federal government tried to strengthen underwriting so that you're not, qualifying people. You're trying to really, hold people to numbers, and you're doing that not to have a deal fall through when you're buying it, but to make sure that once you buy it, you stay in that, stay in the home. The trouble is, prices are high. People have to borrow a lot of money. Young people, and I remember my grandmother saying about me, oh, the prices are too high, how are you doing it? And I'm saying the same thing now about the young people. You look at average sale prices, and
they're above asking.
Oh, and there's still some of that anecdotal evidence that's still going. It may not be as crazy as it was a year ago, but there are anecdotal evidence talking to brokers where, yes, there is still competition above asking, or taking conditions out of the purchase and sale of inspections, or taking conditions out, hey, can you wait to see if I qualify for a mortgage, to try to land a house because, of the competition. But I think some people, you lose a job, now suddenly that mortgage is a daunting obligation, because if you're buying a house for $600,000 and you're putting 20% down, that's still a significant amount of money you're borrowing, and now the interest rates are higher. And no one likes to look at what you're paying for interest after the 30 years, but it's a lot more when you're paying 4, almost 5% than when you were borrowed money for 2.5, 2 and 3/4.
We should mention that the interest rate is higher now because of inflation.
Yeah, and again, the economy drives a lot of things, and we're seeing it. I think the economy is still strong around Norfolk County and around, but you could see impacts, and one of the impacts just on the mortgage numbers I mentioned. Why are the mortgage numbers down 43%? Well, interest rates went up. So there is a correlation to what happens in Washington as they try to address the economic problems and economic challenges that are being faced here. It does trickle down to the local economies.
And we should also mention that we are still in a pandemic, though numbers are coming down. Although I heard just earlier today that cases are rising again. And then I'm assuming that come the fall, those cases will continue to rise as more people kind of congregate indoors.
Well, and again, a tip of the hat to the staff. There's no I in team. The staff at the Registry of Deeds, we forget the great numbers we saw in 2020 and 2021. It was during a pandemic, and yet the Registry of Deeds in Norfolk County was operational every day. There was a reliance, of course, on technology, using more so electronic recording. Electronic recording didn't even exist when I first started at the Registry of Deeds. Electronic recording was authorized by the federal government and the state government, which allowed, say, an attorney in Bellingham or an attorney in Quincy, an attorney outside the county, to do the closing at their office and then transmit electronically documents to the registry. We started that in 2010 on the recorded land side of the registry, which is in Norfolk County. 80% of the land in Norfolk County is recorded land, but there's 20% is land court or registered land, and Norfolk County was a pilot program. Legislation got passed by your state legislators, which allowed for the fact that in 2017 you could electronically record in the land court, which for Norfolk County is 20% of the land. So in 2017 the legislature authorized that, and we did it just to be a modern registry. And Norfolk County was the first registry to record on that date in 2017. It was in April of 2017, not knowing that this was the way for the registry to stay open and be effective and to be efficient during COVID. Because some of the registries in Massachusetts, there are 21, do not have the ability to record electronically on the land court side as well as the recorded land side. So when you mention COVID, I got to thank the employees, because we can talk about technology, we can talk about what was done. We stayed open under very difficult circumstances, and in some ways that was frustrating, because people coming to work, people working remotely, but mainly coming to that building, because you remember in Massachusetts the finish line is the registry. It's what document gets recorded there first. So there was a lot of work to make sure that stayed in place, and I have to tip my hat, because a lot of the employees around in the private sector as well as in the county weren't at the office getting the job done.
I do want to return to land court documents and a milestone in just a moment. But before we get there, in talking about foreclosures, I do want to move over to the Homestead Act. Have you explained that? And no, that doesn't save you from a lender. Certainly if you owe money, you owe money.
That's a very important distinction, and shows like this, and I think there's more knowledge out there on the Homestead. I mean, the Homestead was around when my parents, moved to Norwood, coming from the city of Boston back in 1960, but they didn't record a homestead because no one really knew about it. The Homestead has been around. It's been, touched up and redressed a little bit, but it's a great consumer right. You have a right as an owner of a principal residence, whether it's a two-family home, a condominium, a house. You have a right, whether you're 18 years old and you own that principal residence, or you're 100 years old, you have a right to put a homestead on that property. And it's a relatively, the legislature, which sets the recording fees, have held that recording fee down. And you declare in a state a homestead, which puts, in essence, a picket fence around your home that they can't force the sale of your home. For certain things, you might have gotten into a bad car accident and they're trying to, use the home. Now, they're still going to chase you for the money. But I think the distinction you're making is there are some things under the statute the homestead doesn't protect you against, and one of it is, if you owe your city or town taxes, they can take your property by tax taking. Well, if you don't pay your lender, having a homestead's great for other potential calamities you face, but it's not going to prevent a foreclosure. So it is great to do a homestead. We should do it. Hopefully you'll never need it. And the legislature has written it into the statute for a reason. And I think it's very important. It protects, for instance, the proceeds of the sale of your house. It protects, if you have a recorded homestead, it protects the proceeds of the sale of your house, again, for a limited period of time, 1 year, but it protects it. If you have a recorded homestead on your property and your house, say, burns down, and the insurance company gives you a casualty, an insurance check to rebuild the house, creditors they're looking for your assets if you owe money. If you have a homestead on, the proceeds of those insurance proceeds are protected for 2 years. So there are certain protections in the statute people are well worth doing, and the filing fee is relatively modest. So again, go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org. Even if you don't reside in the county, the information we have, that law applies no matter whether it's Norfolk County, Plymouth County, Worcester County, all the counties. It applies to all of Massachusetts. It's a Massachusetts state law. I think I'm an attorney by training and have practiced law in the past. You talk to 10 attorneys, you get 10 different opinions, but I would say 9.9 out of 10 attorneys would say if you own a principal residence, you should get a homestead recorded.
Let's go back and talk about what I was just about to talk about, and that's the recorded land court documents and the milestone.
Yes, and again, the registry really, and that's one of the fun things about being involved in the registry. There's a lot of things people don't understand about the registry, but the biggest asset you have is your home, and I bet you most people out there don't know whether their deed is recorded on the recorded land side or the registered land side. And again, you have professionals that get involved in the process when you're buying or selling a house that deal with that. But in Norfolk County, 20% of the land is registered land. Well, what's registered land? Well, in 1899, the state legislature authorized registered land. You have to go to court, the land court, and sort of get your land blessed. It's a very involved process where someone took the time back, historically, maybe there were title issues, and they petitioned the land court, and they had to get surveyors and title examiners involved, and your land was put in the land court. And we are a division of the land court in Boston. Boston, as a trial court, sets the rules, and we just record the documents. Well, one of the milestones we just had, as I said, the authorizing legislation was 1899, and I believe the first document recorded was 1900 in Norfolk County. Well, here it is in 2022. The registered land division of Norfolk County just recorded its 1.5 million documents in the document. So it was a nice, there's a lot of documents that get recorded there. And that 1.5 million documents, that's part of the 15 million documents that are, the images that are on our website. Our website goes back to 1793. So the documents in Norfolk County go back to 1793. And again, if you go on our website, www.norfolkdeeds.org, you can look at those documents. You can go back to book 1, page 1, and pull it up. But the significance, I think, of the land court is to show how busy the Norfolk Registry of Deeds is. Because I've been around, I've been registered, I was lucky enough to become registered in 2002. Because I remember it was Halloween. I believe it was Halloween of 2002 or 2003. We recorded our 1 millionth document because I remembered people were in their costumes. We try to do fun things, Red Sox Day. So they were dressed up in costumes. So here you think about it. In 2002, 2003, we were at a 1 million document. And in 20 years, we did 500,000 documents. But it took them from 1900 to 2002 to do 1 million documents. So it shows you that society, especially in everything, I guess, is more complex. But in the real estate sector, There's more documents. There are more pages to documents. There's just been a tremendous amount of activity. And again, we're doing this through technology, but we're doing it through a great staff as well. But that was a milestone, 1.5 million documents on the registered land side. I call it the land court side. And again, again, on our website, we do try to, we have our real estate frequently asked questions, and we do try to have information on what the land court is. If so people have any questions, they certainly can go to our website or contact me at the registry, Register O'Donnell at norfolkdeeds.org if you have any questions.
Talking about history, we have two pieces that we're going to talk about next. One in just a moment, but first, and there's a video, but first I'm holding up a celebration. This is for Norwood, and you said that how the registry does different things from time to time, different takes on maybe how to make history come alive, and this is probably a good example of that. I'm going to open up to the centerfold so people can see exactly what this is, but maybe explain the event. It's an anniversary. Sure,
and again, we've done a lot of good things. When we say, one of the projects I'm very proud of is from 1793 to 1900, the documents were handwritten by the scriveners. The clerks would handwrite the documents, and we were very proud to transcribe all those. And so there were over 450,000 documents where if you look at them now, you can see the handwritten version, but then you get the typed version. And to me, there's such great history in Norfolk County. There's 4 presidents born here. And I always said you can't understand the history of Norfolk County if you can't read the documents. So this is sort of a takeoff on the projects we have done around the county. We were asked to get involved. I was happy to get involved. It's a lot of the towns in Norfolk County have celebrations. Well, Norwood was left Dedham. They had some disputes and became a separate town in 1872. So we did what we do. We were asked to look at some of the documents. We have a page in there about the first document that was recorded for Norwood back in 1872. But we were asked to do a notable. It was called Notable Land Records, People, Places, and Properties. And some of them are historical figures, like the house right. When you go into the old deeds, he was the house right, and Tyler there. But he was the one that pushed for the word Norwood because it had a pleasing sound. It didn't have any I's or T's, and it was second. They were having ballots, and then and people were saying, "Wonder why it won." And I think it won because it comes out that he built half the houses and businesses in Norwood back then, and later became an elected selectman and state legislator. So obviously, all politics, as Tip O'Neill says, local. Here's a local builder, who pushed the name Norwood. We had some, courageous people. One of them, you see, I see Edna Phillips. Edna Phillips, during the McCarthy era, stood up. She was a longtime library director and stood up when there was some accusations of an employee being, during the McCarthy era, that she was a communist. And right next to that, Colonel George Lee. He flew over 238 missions. A young pilot, and then served in World War II, and later the Berlin airlift, and tragically, lost his life a jet crash. So, but a courageous person. So there were a lot of good stories like that, and it was well received for the 150th anniversary. So even though sometimes people think records are boring or things, there's a lot of interesting stories that come out of the records that are recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. And actually, we are going to go to that second historic piece, and then we'll come back into the studio to kind of close this program. So you'll probably enjoy it, as I'm going to enjoy watching this historic piece again. Great. As summer begins, it means some significant dates in history are also upon us. One of these dates is June 20th, which is the day back in 1793, some 229 years ago, that Norfolk County was established. Legislation that was signed by the first governor of Massachusetts, John Hancock, established Norfolk County. Yes, that is the same John Hancock who was made famous by the manner in which he signed the Declaration of Independence. Communities south of Boston sought for many years to separate from Suffolk County. After years of unsuccessful petitions and continued negotiations, a grouping of towns led to the creation of a new Norfolk County by the General Court of Massachusetts. The new Norfolk County went to the south, following the old boundary between Massachusetts Bay and Plymouth colonies. In the north, it encompassed Roxbury, Dorchester, Hyde Park, Jamaica Plain, and Rosendale, all sections of Boston today, as well as Brookline. Norfolk County extended to the Rhode Island border. Norfolk County consisted of 21 towns in 1793, with a population of 23,828 people. All the land records of the Norfolk County towns, including those communities that would later become a part of Boston, are recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. All these records back to 1793 are available for viewing and research, whether by computer, via the internet, or by the old-fashioned way of going through the books at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds located in Dedham. The handwritten records recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds between 1793 and 1900 have all been transcribed to make the history and information in these land records readable. What is the history that has come alive in these documents? The best example involves another significant date in history, the 4th of July. The second President of the United States, John Adams, predicted way back then that this country would celebrate its Independence Day with quote, quote, pomp and circumstance. Ironically, President John Adams died on July 4th, 1829. There are land records at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds of not just President John Adams, but 3 other presidents of the United States. 6th President, John Quincy Adams. 35th President, John F. Kennedy. And 41st President, George Herbert Walker Bush. These 4 presidents of the United States were all born in Norfolk County. I would venture to say there are not too many counties in America that could claim 4 presidents of the United States. This is why Norfolk County is known as the County of Presidents.
Very nice piece there, and we just have about 2 minutes left, so I do want an update from you on the Chief Information Officer.
Well, thank you. There is no longer an on-site direct report to the Registry of Deeds IT staff at the registry. And again, to me, the lifeblood of the registry has always been technology. I don't particularly think it was a wise decision or a sound decision, but we're trying to work through it. Some of the transition process that's been going on, we're a few months into it now, they still haven't put a CIO in, whether, it used to be a registry one, so it hasn't been quite the considered approach that I would expect, or the considered approach I think registry users or stakeholders deserve, but we're trying to work through it. And again, my significant fear is the documents that authenticate legal title are at risk, and with cybersecurity risks out there, there's millions of dollars, as we saw, that get collected. So I'm very worried and guarded about what could happen there, and not that something negative is going to happen.
Right. Well, you'll certainly, hopefully not, but you'll certainly keep us abreast of any happenings, including the CIO. I want to thank you for joining us for this program, and I want to thank the access centers throughout the county for airing this, and also beyond the county. You do get some play beyond Norfolk County as well.
Great. Well, thanks very much for doing it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. Please continue to support your local access television station for programming just like this.